audiences, till now we've brought you updates from Maharashtra. We've also brought you updates from Karnataka with my colleague Ritu. Let's now go over to my colleague Niloy Bhattacharya. He's with us from Guwahati. Niloy, thank you for joining us this morning. Niloy, for our audiences, lay out for us the scene right now in Guwahati. Lay out for us what's taken place there over the last few hours.
Right, Toya. As per reports, the special branch of Assam Police have been carrying out raid in Kamrup district and also in Darang district. Sources say that in Kamrup district alone, as much as 5 persons have been picked up by the police. In Darang, another 3 persons have been picked up. So altogether, as sources, 8 persons have been picked up in Kamrup and Darang district. And remember, Darang is one such place where that infamous Gorukuti incident took place, where the encroachers attacked Assam police and then 1 person was killed due to firing. Now, this the Chief Minister has over and over again mentioned that the entire Gorukuti protest and incident was actually triggered by PFI. He also reiterated this some days back after the first phase of arrests were made in Assam, where 10 persons were arrested linked to PFI, including the state president of PFI, Aminul Haq, and another person who was a AIUDF candidate in BTR elections. So there has been political links also to this entire PFI arrest. So the Chief Minister has said, categorically he mentioned that the PFI is behind all this communal tension in the state, including the protest in Gorukuti, including burning down of a police station in Botodraba. So he has been making this demand to the center to ban PFI. He again mentioned it a couple of days back that because PFI is a nationwide organization, so the center has to take a decision, and the Chief Minister of Assam wants that the PFI needs to be banned. So as far as today's report, at around 2:33, police raided several places in Kamrup district where the Kamrup president of PFI has been arrested and several other important leaders of PFI have been arrested. And these belong to these 2 places where there is a dominant population of Muslim people out there. So likely there were other raids carried out in Borpeta also, though information have reached us from Borpeta. So yeah.
Okay, all right. Niloy, thank you for those details. Those are updates from 3 different states, Karnataka, Assam, and of course the third update came to you from Maharashtra. Now we also have Shashikant. He's a former DGP from Uttar Pradesh. He's with us right now on the show. Let's go over to him to understand more context when it comes to these entire raids. Let's go over to him to understand more. Shashikant, thank you so much for joining us on the show, sir. Sir, I want to understand from you the kind of action that we're seeing right now take place, led obviously last time by the Ministry of Home Affairs. This time it seems state officials are being allowed to take the lead in these raids across the country. So, but the question stands, what to you is the goal? Is the goal to control the PFI or is it to crush it entirely? When you look at the actions that we're seeing, which to you seems to be the goal of the Ministry of Home Affairs?
Right now, is that communal passions.
All right, we'll try to re-establish a connection with the former DGP. All right, we'll try to re-establish the connection with the former DGP. Till then, we'll bring you more details about the raids themselves. We'll also attempt to bring you more details when it comes to the numbers here, just the sheer scale of action we've seen over the last few hours. Remember the accusation that you've had the central government make and you've had the Ministry of Home Affairs make, the accusations you've had the BJP make over the last few years, is that they've held the PFI responsible on 3 counts. A, they've said that the PFI has destabilized the country. You've had a number of BJP leaders come forward and criticize the PFI's actions when it comes to both, you'll remember the entire controversy around the hijab, where you had young girls in Karnataka demand that they be allowed to wear the hijab, they be allowed to practice their right to choice when it came to their classrooms. In that controversy itself in Karnataka, early in the year, this year, had a number of BJP leaders saying that the PFI had a disproportionate role. The other thing that the PFI has been accused of again and again by the BJP is of spreading misinformation, and the central protest that's been pointed to as an example time and time again is the CAA NRC protest that took place a few years ago. Now, on the other side, you have the PFI, the Popular Front of India. It has frequently gone ahead and it has defended its actions. You've had PFI leaders say that they are simply community organizers trying to work for the good of their community. The PFI also has a student wing in particular that in the Karnataka hijab protest was particularly vocal. There again, their argument was that they needed to fight for the rights of the Muslim community within Karnataka. This wide-scale action, though, for many has been coming for a while now, in the sense that you've had statements from BJP leaders saying that they would take more action. Now, as my colleague Ritu was telling us a little while earlier, in Karnataka at least, this should be looked at in the context of the Karnataka elections that are, as you might remember, right around the corner. But in the larger country, what perspective we should look at these raids in, that's what we're going to have more experts join us in. Now, the first time those raids took place, they took place in a manner in which they were led and coordinated by the Ministry of Home Affairs. This time, as we've told you, it's been led by state units. Let's go over to Shashikant. He's a former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. He's with us. Sir, I'm going to change the question for you slightly. I believe you are able to hear us now. Sir, I want to understand from you. We know that this time state units are coordinating the efforts much more. They're taking a much larger lead than the lead that you saw the Ministry of Home Affairs take the last time on Thursday. Sir, on the ground, what does that actually look like? Can you explain for us what that actually looks like when it comes to the interstate coordination? All right, we'll try to re-establish our connection with the former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, that is Shashikant. Until we are able to establish that connection, I'd like to continue to bring you more details about the raids. Now, the big question following the raids was whether or not the Popular Front of India would be banned or not. We'd heard multiple reports had pointed out that the Union Home Ministry had said that there were plans to ban this group, and the Union Home Ministry was claiming to have enough evidence to do so. But what we're also learning is that reportedly officials of the Ministry of Home Affairs were looking to find more evidence to fully prepare their case in case the ban was challenged. Raids, as we told you, were conducted on September 22nd, 5 days ago, in 15 states. And agencies claimed that they'd found strong evidence of the PFI's involvement in terrorist activities. Though remember, the PFI continues to deny that. And across the country, you saw protests take place in various locations where you had PFI members supported by, in some cases, community members come out and protest these large-scale raids that took place across the entire country. Now, soon after the raid, you'd had the Union Home Minister hold a meeting with the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, and the NIA chief. Instructions have been issued to review the facts gathered against the PFI and to take further action. Let's go back into the history right now. The Student Islamic Movement of India, SIMI, is an organization that was originally banned in the early 2000s. The PFI is largely believed to have absorbed a number of leaders from SIMI. PFI itself was formed by a combination of 3 different southern Muslim Islamic groups. These are groups that are located in the southern states of, for example, Kerala and Karnataka. These were local regional groups that claimed to be building the communities that they were a part of. Now, SIMI was banned, and as we told you right now, leaders from SIMI were then absorbed, according to multiple accounts, into PFI, Popular Front of India. Now, that is why this big question remains. Will banning the PFI actually be effective, or will you simply have leaders in the PFI then be absorbed into a third future group? That obviously remains the big question. Now, our colleagues will be joining us with more details in a few minutes. Right now, we have former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, Shashikant. I believe we're going to try once again to see if he is able to hear us. Sir, are you able to hear me right now?
Yeah, sure.
All right, sir. So I wanted to ask you, sir, this move that we're seeing, this second wave of raids that we're seeing, have been described by some as an attempt to crush the PFI and by others as an attempt simply to control the PFI. So how do you look at the series of actions we've seen take place since today morning?
Look, whenever any situation comes up, the first attempt is to ensure that the law and order in the country, in the provinces, in the concerned areas, that remains totally intact. That's the first responsibility of the governments of the, not only the state, but of the country towards the people of this nation, our nation. So the first attempt will be only to control the situation and to ensure that it doesn't spread out You'll recall that a couple of days back on your channel only, I had said that the attempt of the PFI appears to be to create communal situation in various pockets. More so because we know that there are several communally sensitive and hypersensitive pockets all over the country. So their attempt was exclusively aimed at particular thing, that to create disturbance. That's what it appears now, that the same thing happened in Assam. You were saying that there were some clashes and all those things. Right now, the first thing is not to crush it or anything, because in a democracy, crushing doesn't come up. We have to go as per the law of the land. Rule of law has to be maintained. The first attempt is to control the situation and to ensure that it doesn't spread out to other regions. That's the first thing. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, sir, we'd like to understand from you a second follow-up question for you over here when it comes to the action that we're seeing conducted against the PFI right now. Sir, a big question remains over whether or not this action will be enough. I ask you that because we've had experts on the show describe how it was SIMI first that had its leaders absorbed into the PFI. So we've had experts on the show question how that won't take place a third time if action were done against the PFI. So where do you fall in this? What is your opinion?
Look, I think as an ex-police officer and a person with intelligence background works out all over, the first thing, like I told you, is to ensure the situation, this control doesn't get out of the hand at all, number one. And secondly, the second thing will be, like you're talking about banning and all those things. Look, banning certainly will be there as the situation is coming up, as it's developing. But the question remains that whenever there is any particular organization is banned, they again come up under some other name. You'll recall that there was SIMI, and SIMI turned into this particular organization. And this organization also had a number of other political front, youth front, this thing, that thing. So now what I think is it'll be like the activities of these particular groups, I'll say, not of the organization, because the organization keep on changing their names. They have to be identified, and it'll have to be ensured that they remain under the scanner all the time so that they don't try to indulge in something else. And second thing will be, I think that the government of India will have to take some action. We'll have to ensure that this funding which has been coming from Gulf, that has to be controlled somehow or the other. We know that it's very important for our citizens of this country to go and take up job wherever they get. They go to Gulf, they go to Europe, United States, etc., etc. But the Hawala money has to be stopped. As long as the Hawala menace doesn't come to an end, I'm sure, unfortunately, that this thing will keep on coming up time and over and over again. So that's what it is. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN News 18.